what your mortgage is in a good position? Maybe you don't even know the answer to that. I don't think I did until I talked to Rob over at West Coast Mortgage Group. So call 916-453-7533. No matter what position you are in with your home, you want to feel comfortable about it. You might have questions or things you just didn't know about. That's the point, is to call them. During business hours, someone will help you answer the questions that you have. They've got knowledge, they've got experience, and they're really good people. Again, it's West Coast Mortgage Group. Call them at 916-453-7533.
At Cache Creek Casino Resort. Visit CacheCreek.com to learn more.
With Service Champions Heating and Air Conditioning, you're choosing to work with the very best. We're now offering $88 furnace tune-ups with a free duct inspection. High five service, champion attitude. Call 800-5-CHAMPS.
College Junior presents Meaty Meditations. Breathe in the bacon. Now breathe out the bacon. Breathe in the bacon. Breathe out the bacon. In bacon. Out bacon.
Time for bacon. Find delicious satisfaction with the double Western bacon cheeseburger. Only at Carl's Jr. Feed your happy. Available at participating Carl's Jr. restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
It's the holidays at Universal Studios Hollywood. With Coke and Wendy's, this is going to be good. Bring a friend, share a Coke. We're together for the first time in ages. Holiday lights glowing bright. And the Grinch himself is always outrageous. See it all with a holiday deal. When you enjoy an ice cold Coke with a Wendy's combo meal, you can save up to $50 on an annual pass. The fun starts November 26th. Get details at universalstudioshollywood.com/Coke. Offer ends December 16th, 2021. Blackout dates and restrictions apply.
Allgarter Roofing, they are still offering a $129 roof inspection special, normally $199. So you're saving $70, and they have room to schedule you now instead of waiting until your roof gets leaky and there's a roof emergency. Plus, if you need a new roof, you can get gutters included for just $1 on select new roofs. Call them 833-R50s and an F or GarterRoofingInc.com.
Happy Honda Days are happening right now at Northern California's #1 Honda dealer, Stockton Honda. Trade in and trade up. Turn your car into cash today. Get top dollar for your trade and take advantage of low APR financing and great lease rates at Stockton Honda. Now is the time to buy.
Problems. Call our special hotline number now and find out in minutes if you qualify for these life-changing debt reduction programs. Business or personal, if you're in a payment plan with no end in sight, have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to know your options, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief and stop collections immediately. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau with a 5-star rating from Yelp, this veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. Call their hotline number now, 800-791-5152. That's 800-791-5152. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-791-5152 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
And get a low interest rate at the same time. How does a cash-out refinance mortgage and a rate and APR in the twos sound? We'll even cover the title, escrow, and appraisal fees. Need extra holiday cash? Want to pay off high-interest debt? Or just put money away for a rainy day? Then a cash-out refi from Cash Call Mortgage is the perfect solution. For a free quote to see if you qualify, go to cashcallmortgage.com or call us today. Call 800-931-6651. That's 800-931-6651. 800-931-6651.
Well, the weather isn't the only thing changing. According to our latest research, local business owners today are saying it's getting harder to sustain their business than it was just a few months ago. They also told us that targeting the right audience with their advertising messages is more important than ever. At Salem Surround, our team of local in-market experts take that seriously. We utilize the latest research in marketing technology to deliver media plans that will exceed your expectations. Let Salem Surround show you how we can solve for your marketing challenges by bringing nationwide resources while delivering Main Street solutions. Salem Surround is here to help you through the constant changes. We promise we'll help your business stay ahead of the changing weather.
Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton with Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. That's Big Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to people who love sports and me. It's all fair and level. I want to say today is a beautiful December the 15th, 2021. Grondo Deportes de Benvenuto. Bonjour. Bienvenido. I'm trying to learn my Spanish and French, and it's all kind of mixed up. Depends on how the platform is. But today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. You can go by and test drive yours. Tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 20 podcast applications. That's 20 even to get to the number 20, it takes a lot to learn how to get to 20. So give that some praise. Give me some praise. I learned how to count to 20. You think it's funny? You try it. I tell you, Big C Sports Podcast on 20 podcast platforms all around the world. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Alexa Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Spreaker Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeart-Radio-Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict. You can also find Big C Sports, if I catch my breath, on Pod Chaser. That means I'll get to the number 10. So what happens when I get to 10? You got to give me some praise. Come on. Give me some praise for being able to count to 10. It's not as easy as people think. It's really not as easy as people think. I really do love knowing that I know how to count to the number 10. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on Geo Savan Podcast. They're actually out of London, England. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast on Podtail. You can find us on YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher, Radio Line, WePod Podcast, Luminary Podcast. And these last two were supposed to be added in 2022, but they said it tastes so good. It tastes so good, they wanted it now. Listen to those podcasts. And podcast-wise, you got to be wise to follow Big C Sports. Give me some praise. I said give me some praise. You got to be wise to follow the Big C Sports Podcast. And we could all say, we all can use some good wisdom. The Bible says get some wisdom and get some understanding. I love saying that. We also have 4 TV platforms streaming. Big C Sports Podcast is actually streaming on 4 TV applications Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. all over the universe. Xfinity Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and then a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. If the TV's not smart, I don't think it's great. It's not smart. Don't blame me. I didn't know the TV. Get yourself a smart legally. I love paying homage to my family legacy on Big C Sports. From my mother's side, the matriarch of the family called her Mama, greatest grandmother in the history of the universe, great grandmother in the history of the universe. And then my great grandfather, Pop. He was a former Negro League baseball player, also known for making the best moonshine in the universe. Made the words, "Boy, get out of that barn." Very famous. I get struck by lightning. All fair loving word. And then my grandmother called her a mud deer. She's a wonderful person to see her. One of the best human beings ever to exist. And my grandfather, Hezekiah, also a very good man. My beautiful mother helped start a Head Start program in Northern California and also helped win the Little League Championship of the universe. Give us some praise. Love giving them praise. Always saying rise and shine every day. You got to rise and shine every day. It doesn't matter how you feel. Just make sure you rise and shine. Love giving praise to Mama. On my father's side, the matriarch of the family, Alberta Curry, a great woman, business leader, helped my grandfather start 2 churches in Northern California, but the 3rd one in Central California, and on 2 service stations in Oakland, California. My grandfather, very savvy businessman named Albert Curry. He was a pastor, fire and brimstone, also started 2 churches in Northern California, the 3rd one in Central California had 2 service stations in Oakland. And then my father, a retired Air Force fighter pilot from the United States Air Force and also chief mechanic in the military. My brother Todd, with his bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning all the time. Really do appreciate that. Love paying homage to my beautiful son, Malcolm, a college student who knows NBA basketball all over it very well, sends me stats on NBA things that are going on. And my daughter, Daisy, would help me set up events for coaches that came to the West Coast. And then Big C helping me with his wealth of knowledge of all the stuff we've done together. All fair number 1. Give them all praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. I said give it all praise. I love giving praise. Give praise where praise is due. It's all fair and level war. Steph Curry for 3. We heard that last night as he broke the record And what I also love saying for a Big C Sports podcast is let's get ready to rumble! SB nominated Big C Sports podcast, the #1 sports show in the universe. No scripts, no three-way teleprompters, no producer in my ear. I do the show with my higher self and God's help. I produce the show. I direct all the topics. I broadcast the shows. I do all the sound effects that are allowed by the platform, if that makes sense to you. Really love doing that by the platform. And then on top of that, I'm doing the commercials that are done by the agency out of New York City. I do the stats providing. I do the storytelling. And what I really loved last night, and I prophesied on this about a week before it happened, Steph Curry for 3! What a game he had at Madison Square Garden last night. And to get a standing ovation for all the great crowd of New York City, that's really impressive about New York City, just to give a standing ovation to the team that came in and beat them. That's called sportsmanship. Everybody gets a trophy. Love doing that. Then I upload the show to the platform that goes out to 20 podcast platforms. And there's 20 right now. They were supposed to happen in 2022, but they started early in 2021, so I'm really grateful for that. And then 4 TV platforms. So Big C Sports Podcast is actually streaming on television. I really do appreciate that. Whether you go to Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, really do appreciate the growth of Big C Sports. Going to have a lot more growth coming for 2015. Actually, 2022. We started back in 2015. Do love doing that. But as I love quoting the Bible, just like T.D. Jakes says, get your stick together. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is the Genesis 13:15. It says, for all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever. And another great verse that I've been hearing about, and so many things have been happening that are just great, is we have not because we ask not. So anything you want in your life, just ask. It's either yes or no, and it's always no if you don't ask. But give asking some praise. I said, give asking some praise. You gotta praise it. Don't worry about what people say. Listen, what God's meant for you is not gonna miss you. And if it's not meant for you, it's not gonna get it. So don't worry about it. People are gonna say yes or no to you. People come and go, but God is always on your side. I want to make sure we give out the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know any veterans going through issues, they fought for this country. They gave some of them life and limb. And for those who made it back, a lot of them deal with PTSD, post-traumatic distress, or post-traumatic stress disorder. And we have a crisis hotline. We didn't create it, but it's a crisis hotline that everyone can pick up the call, not just for veterans, but sometimes for yourself. I even use it for myself. Sometimes they say, man, is you again? It's anyway, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do it, just tell them Big C sent you and give them some praise. All fair and level war. Everybody needs somebody to lean on sometimes. Everybody needs somebody. Everybody. Especially our veterans that made it possible to do the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say thank you to Comcast Spotlight, Xfinity Comcast Spotlight, Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports. I love this part to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, let there be light. Open yourselves on and say, play Big C Sports Podcast. I don't do it myself. The Big C Sports Podcast is streaming on 4 TV applications, and I don't care what anybody says. You got to rise and shine every day. I really do appreciate that. I want to say I'm really happy about our affiliation with ValleyHomesWeekly.com, and it's a real estate listing show. Also, in your neck of the woods, from sea to shining sea, from the north to the south, from the border of Canada to the border of Mexico, go to the nationalrealestatepost.com. That tells you everything that's going on with real estate in your neck of the woods. Also, for mortgage news, go to mortgagedailynews.com. You can get updated on everything that's going on in the world of mortgages and interest rates. I know the feds are talking about hiking the interest rates again. So if you want to refinance now, you want to refinance soon, 800-772-8624. If you want to know more about what's going on in the world of real estate. Looking to recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this country to join the Big C team. All you got to do is pick up the phone, 800-772-8624, and give that some praise. Give it some praise, praise, praise. Don't just Don't just pick up the phone and look at it. Call 800-772-8624. Also, you sports fans betting on games, a lot of people bet that Steph Curry would have broken the record last night. But I don't know how many would thought that at Madison Square Garden that they would actually give him of course they're going to give him a standing ovation, but they stopped the game for a few minutes, maybe about 5 minutes, and it was really just touching to see how, even though his mother and father are going through some issues, he embraced both of them. And who isn't going through issues? But some people, it's just realized everybody goes through something. But I'm so proud of him, of Stephen Curry, and the way that he embraced his father and his mother, and that they both loved up on him, just the way that he is as a human being. Really do appreciate that. Going to have an interview coming up with Steph Curry later in the year, in the 2022, or so that'll be next year in 2022 on Big C Sports Podcast. Really do appreciate so many things. I'm actually going to challenge him to a three-point shootout. Curry for three! It doesn't matter, but Curry shot it. But Curry for three! You'll hear that, too. It doesn't matter who shot the ball. If it went in, you know it's probably me. Curry did it. Okay, which Curry? Don't matter which Curry. Curry probably made the three-point basket as New York. The Knicks, what a great celebration last night. Also, congratulations, Steph Curry, for setting that record. And for people who want to bet on sports, I always get it, and you get it too. There's always some guy going, hey, man, I got the right game. You don't want to miss this game. How much money do you got? Put it all in this number. Put it all in this game. My question is, if you got so much information on who's going to win a game, why are you trying to share the pot with everybody else? Does that make any sense to you? If you said there's gold in them there hills, let me tell everybody in the universe, I just found $100 million in gold. And this is where the address is. Get a pen and paper. I'm going to write it down. I need some help taking this gold home. Think about that when these guys tell you they got the winning ticket. Yeah, I'm going to tell you where $100 million is gold and gold is located. Can somebody help me bring it home? Okay, they should save that money for themselves. I want to say this segment is also sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on its game. Sports fans, when Steph Curry hits another three, you can watch it by eating the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all this exotic meat, Curry? I said Curry. Come on, Curry, what's all this exotic meat that come on the Big C Burger? What's all the exotic meat, Curry? I'm not telling them. But I hear it tastes better in your mouth than it does in your head. It's all fair and level war. I'm going to take the Big C pause and come back to what's going on in the NBA basketball universe. Really do appreciate that. In the words of former California governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, will make the Big C pause. Like the Terminator said, I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 20 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming on 4 TV applications, 20 applications podcast, and then 4 TV applications for television, all fair and level. I really do appreciate that. As I ended the first segment of Big C Sports Podcast, it was Steph Curry for 3! How about Charlton Curry for 3? Yeah, okay. Hey, Curry's on the back of my name, too. In fact, I've had the name longer than he had. That's a great lineage. All fair and level war. A lot more people are getting in on the Curry. This Curry spice, this Curry sauce, this Curry family, Curry all over the place. Steph Curry set the NBA three-point record and did it last night in the mecca of basketball, New York City's Madison Square Garden, and LeBron James, as well as Chris Paul, Tom Brady, and there's a lot of other athletes from Jesus Sutterworth, known as, we call him Ray Allen. They all, and even Reggie Miller, I thought it was so classy the way the broadcast world took hold of it last night. You had on TNT, Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Ernie. They were all talking to Steph Curry after he broke the record, after the game was over, and the Warriors beat the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. And then they all came to the floor. And then Ray Allen, as well as he was doing the interview, gave Steph Curry a hug. And Reggie Miller right there, they all took a picture, those 3 of them. You had Spike Lee walking around trying to photobomb the picture in the back with an orange suit. is just amazing. Hopefully they'll have He Got Game 2, which is what I was calling them to happen for that game as Steph Curry hit it. And it's just amazing. And they gave him a nice standing ovation at New York Madison Square Garden, 2,977 points. Curry's going to have 3,000 three-pointers. Will he get it before Christmas? No, but he'll probably get it before New Year's. Think about it. He'll probably get it before New Year's. I mean, not that he needs more pressure. They got to focus on winning games. But when he's only 23 points away from doing that, 23 baskets away, can he hit 23 three-pointers between now and New Year's Day? Probably not even something to even think about. But he is an amazing athlete and an amazing character person. And the fact that his father, Dale, he learned a lot with his father. And to see his father give him a hug and embrace him no matter what his parents are going through, that he and his father shared a nice embrace. And that there's some things that are more important than trying to look bad at somebody for whatever reason, okay? No person would divide a person. That makes any sense. The all-time NBA three-points leader, 2,977, all-time leader in three-pointers, 300, think about that, 407 in the postseason. Two-time MVP, only unanimous MVP in the history of the game, 7-time All-Star, 3-time NBA champion, and he has the same name that I have, which is Curry. 4-3! I think I'm going to start saying my name is Curry for 3 now. Charlton Curry, new name, Curry for 3! Why not? All eyes were on Madison Square Garden on Tuesday night as Steph Curry, the Golden State Warriors, they needed only 2 3-pointers to pass Ray Allen, which if you watch the movie He Got Game, produced and written by Spike Lee, and Denzel Washington also was a star in the game, the father of Jesus Shuttleworth, Ray Allen in the movie. They wanted him to go to Big State University, and they had a lot of paper bags that they were giving him to go to Big State. Who was in the paper bag? I don't know. Maybe the Big C Burger was in the paper bag as they were trying to get him to go to Big State. But just the fact that when you think about him being the Steph Curry breaking the all-time three-point record, and I mean this, isn't it amazing that Big C Sports, owned by Charlton Curry, is the #1 sports show in the universe in the same time that Steph Curry is the #1 three-point shooter in the universe? Is that something? Get that for praise. The land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever. Don't worry about anybody who don't believe that. None of their business. But I really do appreciate Steph Curry's going to be on Big C Sports Podcast in 2022, a live interview. So when I think about it, Ray Allen was there showing so much class. Love his bald head also. If we can get Steph Curry to shave his head next like Ray Allen and Reggie Miller, maybe he'll do that as he crosses 30, if that makes sense to you. But Ray Allen, for the most all-time, he passed him and got an embrace. But again, what I love about what happened last night, Reggie Miller out of UCLA and Cheryl Miller played at USC, his sister. But both have been in television. But Reggie Miller he's a tough shot. I mean, he was lights out. But for him to even acknowledge that Steph Curry is the best three-point shooter ever, that's something, because a lot of athletes don't want to do that. Remember, all he said, I am the greatest. But I just appreciate seeing these 3 African Americans at a time they would have been banned from playing NBA basketball. Isn't that something? And when I think about Curry, the way that he did it, he broke the record and made it look easy, because it's not easy. If it were easy, there'll be a lot more people trying to do it. But he drew the three-pointer within the first 5 minutes of the game and against the New York Knicks, so officially claimed his crown as the NBA's long-range king. And so the 2-time MVP came into the game with 2,972 three-pointers, one behind Jesus Shuttleworth. That's Ray Allen. Now, Ray Allen did it when he was playing for Boston, and he did it against the Lakers. Well, the Golden State Warriors are playing at Boston next. But when I think about what Steph Curry was saying, he doesn't even have the words, to be honest. He said earlier in the season that it's not just getting the record. There's other caveats of hoop heads knowing of the volume and efficiency is huge, like mastering both. So the fact that I have still got to get a lot more in my career, I got to learn a lot more, I got to be able to shoot at the percentage that I want and help our team win a championship. That's what he's all about, winning championships and being better. Steph Curry also came through his own challenges. There's not one person that doesn't have some kind of challenges. People think, oh, now that he's rich, he has no challenges. Everybody has challenges. Being the all-time three-point king, that means that more people are going to give him a double team. The three-point record is one of many for Curry. The three-time NBA champion has the most three-pointers in a single season, 402, the most three-pointers in a calendar month, 96, the most games with double-digit three-pointers, 22 for his career. Curry averages an NBA record 3.8 made three-pointers per game. He's also going to appear on Big C Sports Podcast in 2022. And what the fans and opponents have more to say about the record-setting accomplishment. When I think about LeBron James, who's had success all of his life since he's really been in high school at Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, and then got drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. But he said he just landed in Dallas to see Steph Curry break the record and make it an even better experience than he had in the Garden. And congrats to Steph Curry, incredible. And, I mean, there's a lot of other people. It's like Trae Young said, this is crazy, man. Literally a game changer. Wow, congrats. Trae Young down in Atlanta, he's trying to emulate Steph Curry. You just got to shoot as many baskets that he does, and that's how you're going to get there. Tom Brady, touchdown Tom Brady, with his 7 Super Bowl championships, says congrats to my friend and Under Armour teammate. What an accomplishment, getting that plug-in for Under Armour. They only left out Big C Sports Podcast, but I'll put that in for them. There's all too many times that people think, oh, these athletes have no problems. Everything's great. Well, watch the movie He Got Game. That would be a great Christmas movie for a lot of people. And I really love the fact that it came true for him because he's a hard worker and he deserves it. Everybody has their own hopes and dreams in life. And I really appreciate seeing him able to do that. I mean, not many people can say that they can win a record and he's still a young man. Most guys, when they talk about setting record, what is Tom Brady, 44 years old? I think Steph Curry's only 33 years old. He's coming into his own. He can probably shoot like this for another 7 years. The way he keeps his body in shape, staying healthy, and so many great players. They have a mentality of me, myself, and I. But he's not that kind of person. He's very calm, very respectful, and I just appreciate the fact that in my time of doing Big C Sports, that I get the chance to be able to say, Steph Curry for 3! No one knows if I say, Charlton Curry for 3! Who knows the difference? Still say Curry for 3! I love doing that. But congratulations, Steph Curry, the NBA three-point champion. Nobody can ever say that you didn't earn it. He's put in the time, he's put in the work, and he paid homage to his mother and father for being there for him over the years and working with him. No matter what's going on, everybody has something in their own personal life. But to see that they both got the embrace from him and to see him, not that breaking down is something you want to do in public, but people do. You cry when you got to cry. It's okay to laugh and cry. If you're human, you can do that. But to see him show such respect for his father and respect for his mother and them not try to pull him apart, that just, God bless him. Tonight's Wednesday, December 15th schedule, Houston is at Cleveland. Game's already underway. You have Atlanta there at Orlando, down in the beautiful state of Florida, already underway. The Miami Heat in a game that should be a great game at the Philadelphia 76ers. The Los Angeles Lakers, my goodness, what a game this should be down in the heart of Texas. It's on ESPN, taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Indiana, they're at the Milwaukee Bucks, defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. New Orleans Pelicans at the OKC. I'd be remiss if I didn't do this. At the OKC Thunder. They'd love to get that in there. It's all fair in Leavenworth. So that's a game that's going on down in OKC. There's a lot of good things that are happening in the world of NBA basketball. Before I finish off on the rest of the schedule, I just think about the fact that sometimes things get in the way. And the Warriors had some trouble getting out of Indianapolis with the aircraft and got that worked out. So they took off in the morning. So they didn't really have their legs under them because they should have been able to go to Atlanta, New York and have a good night's rest. But that's still something they had to overcome. Charlotte is at San Antonio down in Texas. Minnesota taking on Denver up in the Mile High City. And the reigning NBA champion Nikola Jokic, the Joker. LA Clippers at the Utah Jazz up in the Wasatch Mountains. Memphis Grizzlies at the Portland Trailblazers. And that's a game that Portland's probably not going to win. Washington is at the Sacramento Kings in Northern California. There's a lot of excitement in basketball, especially all over California, with the Lakers always a headline in basketball. The Clippers building a new arena. Golden State Warriors got their new Chase Center just a couple years ago. Sacramento Kings got the new Golden One Center about 5 years ago. Everything is it's a lot of growth going on in the West Coast. You got the Las Vegas being awarded Super Bowl 58. SoFi Center has Super Bowl 56 this year. Phoenix, Arizona has Super Bowl 57. It's all West Coast, and give it all some praise. Give the West Coast some praise. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. The former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. We follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 20 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming on 4 TV applications all over the universe. When you think about what's going on in a strange world, COVID-19, Washington football team's COVID-19 list grows to 18 players with 8 more additions that came out today. In Ashburn, Virginia, the Washington football team already impacted by injuries. Also, the owner, Daniel Snyder, has some allegations that he tried to pay someone off to keep it quiet. I don't want to get into it, but I was reading about that, and I know that people can Google that if they want to. And then the day after that came out, the team is hit with, I think, 18 players, 8 more additions that happened today. And so when you think about it, they had placed 14 players on the COVID list this week, including 8 on today, bringing the total to 18 as it prepares to play the Philadelphia Eagles in a big game with a lot of playoff implications. Both teams are 6-7, and Washington's holding the 7th and final playoff spot with 4 games remaining. When you think about that, Coach Ron Rivera said he had not heard any discussion about possibly canceling the game. We just went through this last year, and they pushed forward iceberg straight ahead. Of those 18 players, 9 were possible starters for Sunday. That's a lot in the NFL. And then Washington also has 13 players on injured reserve. 2 players are on both lists, leaving the team having to piece together a lineup for a game that impacts its playoff fate. But will they cancel games coming up in the NFL? Or will they say, hey, don't test anybody else, let's get through the season, we're almost done. So they said they're in meetings, and one of the guys had told them that someone else had it, like there's another one, and there's another one, and there's a guard, Brandon Scherf, said that, like Coach Rivera said, next man up is a big opportunity for them to show everyone what they might have as far as ability to play. But athletes, thank goodness there have been no, as far as I know, anyone that's been hospital-stricken in the NFL. There might be a couple that no one talked about, but I think that's making people feel like, hey, it's just like the flu, we'll get over it. And hopefully it is. But if you're vaccinated, you have a better chance of surviving without having any or more health side effects. Washington's strength has been his defensive line, and as of now, that group is decimated. Of the top 6 linemen on the active roster, 5 are on the COVID-19 list. Think about that. Darren Payne remains fine. Another lineman, Montez Sweat, he's also on the list but remains on injured reserve. He has a fractured jaw. Football players are tough. And Sweat would have played last week had it not been tested positive for COVID-19. So he's eligible to come off the list on Saturday, but that would require him to then play in the game for the first time since October 31st. Who knows what kind of stamina he'll have. Several players could come off the list later this week, including defensive end James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill, both of whom missed Sunday's loss to the Dallas Cowboys, and defensive tackle Jonathan Allen and Tim Settle also came off the list. So there's a lot of things going on. All 4 players must test negative twice in a 48-hour span to return. Some of the affected players, including Allen and Settle, had not shown symptoms as of Tuesday night. So that's something that they're looking into with the Washington football team. Washington only has 2 healthy tight ends, on the roster, Ricky Seals-Jones, and rookie John Bates. The top corner, Kendall Fuller, will miss Sunday's game because he was placed on the COVID-19 list. Two key offensive players, receiver Terry McLaurin and running back DJ McKissick, are on the concussion protocol. It's like a walking mesh unit. A lot of people are banged up. Football's a tough enough game as it is, and now you have a slew of players being hit by COVID-19, and I just hope that everybody gets better from it. I know people at one time thought everything's back to normal. We can all just go out and play and interact with as many people as possible, but it doesn't seem to be the case according to what happened with the Washington football team. Even Kevin Stefanski, the coach, who was for the Cleveland Browns, had some players. I think a quarterback, Baker Mayfield, also Coach Kevin Stefanski tested positive for COVID-19. Cleveland's had a lot of injuries this year. Baker Mayfield's been banged up too, but he tested positive. He's the marquee player for the Cleveland franchise, COVID-19. And then also they played the game. I don't know if he's going to play in the game against the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to figure this one out. Sometimes you got to wait 10 days away from team, and then they have a new way that they're saying you got to just test negative twice within 48 hours. I'm sure they'll try to figure that out. But if you think about it, Mayfield was placed on the COVID-19 reserve list. He feels completely normal despite the positive test. Case Keenum would be in the lineup to start for Mayfield if he's unavailable, with Nick Mullins serving as a backup quarterback. Stefanski does not produce 2 negative tests in time. Special teams coordinator Mike Pfeiffer, he'll be able to serve as the acting head coach for Cleveland. So there's been no discussion of making a change to the game status on Saturday. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said that. And I don't even know what to say about all this. A lot of it's been like a tidal wave. The Browns added 3 more. We just talked about the Washington football team. 18 players. The Browns added 3 more defensive starters to the COVID-19 reserve list just today. Safety John Johnson III, cornerback Troy Hill, and Malik McDowell. The Browns placed 8 players on the COVID-19 reserve list, including 4 offensive starters and 5-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Jarvis Landry, offensive guard Wyatt Tiller, tight end Austin Hooper, and then left tackle Jadarius Willis Jr., defensive end Tack McKinley, punt returner JoJo Natson, backup guard Drew Forbes, and reserve tight end Ross Travis also placed on the list. Is there anyone who's not on the list? The head coach tested positive for COVID-19 last season going into Cleveland's first playoff appearance. In 18 years, he stayed home and watched the game from his basement as the Browns defeated the Steelers 48-37. So you learn a lot about what's going on. So I don't know what's going to happen. Even not that this is related to COVID, but the Baltimore Ravens, the Superman Lamar Jackson quarterback, can start against the Green Bay Packers even after the quarterback missed Wednesday's practice with a sprained right ankle. Now, he had also dealt with COVID-19 earlier in the year, and when he came back, he wasn't quite as light of foot or fleet of foot as he had been. If he's not able to play, then Tyler Huntley has proven to be a pretty decent replacement for Jackson, winning on his only previous start, 16-13 in Chicago. That was back on November 21st. He nearly rallied Baltimore for 21 points down Sunday in Cleveland. So we'll see what happens. I just hope, I don't want to sound like a knucklehead. I hope that the league is taking this serious. Athletes are in super great shape for the most part. Most are very healthy. But it's who they go around when they're not playing the game. So we got to see what happens with that. D Ford for the 49ers. He's not going to return to the 49ers this season due to lingering back injury. Thank God it's just a back injury. So he's a defensive end for the 49ers. 2021 season over as a persistent back injury that has plagued him for much of his career has taken hold again. So 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan said that D Ford will not be able to return from the injured reserve list during the 21-day practice window, which expires the afternoon, already happened, and so Ford will not be able to return to the team this year. It's a tough business. You can do all you can, but injuries can sneak up on anyone. That makes you wonder how Tom Brady, at 44 years old, is still doing his thing. So I just hope that everybody's going to be healthy. Linebacker Fred Warner, he's also had an injury, but he's going to be on his feet and back in the saddle again. It's all fair in love and war. But when you think about the NFL and the COVID-19 protocol, what is actually going on with all? Number one, I want to give the players that fought through COVID a standing ovation. Give them a standing ovation for fighting through it and doing whatever they have to do to stay healthy. That's important that players are doing everything they can to step up and try to go to that next level and just make things out of it. We talked about the crisis hotline. It's not just for veterans. It's for anybody going through issues. And I know people who have COVID, and sometimes they're very afraid. Other times they get through it. And so I thank God for the mercy of God, for the grace of God. I've been pretty safe through all of it. But I know people who've had come down with COVID, and they got through it. They got through it. So I'm just grateful that the league is not putting their head in the sand. I know it was college basketball last year. I think the former Baylor coach said quit testing people because you don't want to stop the tournament. That doesn't make any sense. You got to make sure you know what's going on and then decide what you're going to do. But don't put your head in the sand. NFL Players Association, again, they're pushing the NFL to reinstitute daily testing for COVID-19. The NFL Players Association today renewed its push for daily COVID-19 testing amid unprecedented surge of infections this week alone. This week alone. In a statement released today, the NFLPA reiterated that it's been negotiating for more tests since training camp. They decided to take away a crucial weapon in our fight against the transmission of COVID-19. You know why? Because so many want to say, hey, look at that pass, touchdown! They want to hear touchdown. They want to hear the name touchdown. And some people say we don't need the test. I'm glad that NFLPA is looking in this. They're taking their player leadership into the role that they should take it into and look at the changes to the protocols that they may need to deal with. A total of 75 players. 75 players returned positive tests for COVID-19 as of Monday, Tuesday, and continued into Wednesday. Isn't that something? 75. 75. So NFL owners and executives that gathered outside of Dallas for a scheduled meeting that had already been scheduled and are discussing ways to combat the surge. And at this pace, the league will have more positive players test this week than it had for the first 3 months of the regular season that had 110. So what are we going to have by the time we get to the end of this year when the playoffs are going to start in January? I hope we don't have any games that are on pause, but we don't know. All players, coaches, and staff were tested daily during the 2020 season. In 2021, the NFL pulled back in that schedule for vaccination for individuals. Unvaccinated players are still required to test daily, and when you think about that, everybody's affected by that too. They're all going to be a part of something. Whether you're positive or negative, if your teammate's positive, that affects you too. Vaccinated players started training camp with tests every 14 days, but the NFL increased that to once per week shortly after, or actually shortly before the start of the regular season, because they want to get more games in. They want to get more games in. In September, NFLPA President J.C. Tretter wrote that daily testing was necessary to minimize the chances of spread within team facilities. Today, California, the whole state of California, just put into law that inside facilities have to have masks. When I open up Big C Sports, the first home game for the 49ers, they lost to the Green Bay Packers. When the Packers came down and scored, they had 37 seconds left. Rodgers drove them down. Devontae Adams had a long catch, and Crosby kicked the winning field goal. That was the first time the 49ers had been back home in over a year, because they were playing their last several games down in Arizona at the end of last season. So hopefully they haven't laxed too much on COVID. So it's all fair and love and war. But I love this business, the NFL. I love NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, and basketball. I love it all. It's a great business, but you got to keep people healthy. Most of the owners, as far as I know, just looking at the owners in the NFL, most of these guys are over 60 years old. Most of them are. So you can't have players getting sick and being around the owners. I know a lot of people go up into the press box, and they're keeping a mask on, a mask mandate, and that's important. But just being real, you have young multimillionaire athletes. These guys between 21 and 40 years old, or 21 and 44. A lot of these guys in the prime of their lives. When they're not at the facilities, they're out meeting people. They have girlfriends, and they travel around the country, and they interact with people. And when they come back home, they get a day off, and they interact with people. You don't know who you're interacting with, who they've been interacting with. So that affects things too. So how do you tell young people not to be young anymore? And that may be why the spread is happening. Just a thought. Just a thought. I want to also pay attention. I want to turn attention to the HBCU. Happened yesterday. The great primetime Dion Sanders gets a good award. Didn't take very long for Dion Sanders. Think about this. He played at Florida State. Maybe the best athlete in the history of that university. Played football and basketball, Major League Baseball and NFL football. Won a Super Bowl. Also played in the World Series. And he didn't get a chance to coach at Florida State. That seems to be looking for a new head coach every 2 years. It didn't take long for Dion Sanders to prove that he deserves to be a college football coach. In just his second season at Jackson State, the legendary cornerback led the program to 11-1 record. Jackson State was a perfect 9-0 in conference play this season and captured his first Southwestern Athletic Conference title since 2007. Think about that. We've heard about coaches, whether it's going to USC or LSU or Oklahoma, University of Washington. A lot of coaches. Oregon, Miami. Guys getting $10 million a year. Look at what primetime Dion Sanders did. 11-1. Isn't that something? 9-0 in conference play. Is anyone giving Dion Sanders $10 million? Most of the coaches are Caucasian. Outside of Mel Tucker at Michigan State and Franklin at Penn State, most of these guys are good old boys. People assume they're going to turn the program around. Look at what Dion Sanders has done. Undefeated in conference play. Name one coach that went undefeated in conference play this year in a Power 5. I'm not talking about Cincinnati. They went undefeated, but they did not play a Power 5 schedule. I said name a Power 5 coach that went undefeated this year. None of them did, not even Nick Saban. Is anyone offering primetime Dion Sanders and his ability to recruit top talent and teach them? Is anyone offering Dion Sanders $10 million? Well, he already made millions before as an athlete. Not the question. The question is he's 9-0 in conference play. Any other coach go 9-0 or undefeated in conference play in a Power 5 conference? Didn't happen at Oregon. Miami gave him a job. At Miami, Oregon didn't go undefeated in conference play. Did Oklahoma go undefeated in conference play? No. USC still gave him $10 million. Think about that. You got to think about it. Did Coach Kelly, who lost to a non-Power 5 school at Notre Dame, did he go undefeated? No. Dion Sanders went undefeated in conference play. Is he getting $10 million? If he were a white man, I'm sure he would. He has more accolades than any of those guys and more household name recognition than any of them. But he's not getting that $10 million, but he does get a praise from Big C Sports Podcast. I say that because it's important. Black men run that business. The labor of it, 90 or maybe 80% of it is African Americans. So But the coaches, about 90% of them are white guys. So why are they getting all the money? It's a racial thing. Sanders' work has not gone unnoticed, especially by Big C Sports. He just earned the Eddie Robinson Award. This award is presented to the National Coach of the Year at the FCS level, but really he could be the National Coach of the Year any level. There will be an FCS National Awards banquet January 7th in Texas, and Sanders will be officially presented the award on that date. Now, why do I bring that up? Because people are clapping, oh my God, we just got this coach, we're going to win a championship. No, you're not. You're going to win one championship every year. Lincoln Riley never won a championship at Oklahoma. He won the Big 12. Not this year, though. He's been knocked out in every bowl game he coached in. So I want to close out Big C Sports talking about the NFL universe and the race and gender opportunities. Because as we keep clapping, like we said last night, Steph Curry for 3, and people clap in the hand, Steph Curry for 3, cameras going off, everybody's saying happy, we should overcome all that jazz, nothing wrong with that. But are we really overcoming? The National Football Leagues take steps toward a better racial and gender representation according to a report card. And Big C Sports is going to talk about that report card. Not many people will. Not entirely there yet. The NFL has continued to take important steps toward equal racial and gender representation and made strides toward achieving diversity and equality and inclusion, according to the Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sports. At the University of Central Florida, 2021 NFL Racial and Gender Report Card released today. The NFL received a B+ for racial hiring practices and a C+ for gender hiring practices this year, with an overall grade of B. Think about the number of white coaches that have been able to jump ship, whether it's Oregon, whether it's Oklahoma. Miami coach got fired. Fresno State's coach left for Washington. There's so many coaches jumping around from place to place to get more money. And most of them are Caucasian. So when you say, well, look at these coaches getting all this money, you should say, let's preface it by saying, look at the white coaches getting more money. Why are they getting more money when the talent they recruit are black kids? Why aren't black men given allowed to do what Dion Sanders did? He went undefeated in conference play. Name me one Power 5 coach that did that, black or white. They didn't. Not in the Power 5. So the overall grade is a B for equality. Now the report that the NFL's overall score of 82, it's like 81.2 in 2021, and NFL received 88.5 points for racial hiring practices and 75 points for gender hiring practices, and several notable all-time highs, including the number of women working in the NFL league office. Women vice presidents in the team level, black Americans in professional administration roles at the team level, and people of color in senior management positions. Just like Big C Sports, black owned. It is encouraging to see the NFL achieve new levels of diversity and inclusion. Big C Sports has media credentials for NFL football, and so I'm very happy about that because they don't have to give them to anybody. So that's, to me, it's an honor. And I'm also putting in my credential to cover Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. And I should get that too. It shouldn't just go to white companies. Title VII addressed that in the 64 Civil Rights Bill. So it's encouraging to see the NFL achieve new levels of diversity and inclusion. This is a $15 billion industry. Big C Sports is part of that industry. $15 billion, whether it's Fox Sports, ABC Sports, ESPN, CBS Sports, NBC Sports, NFL Network, Turner Sports, Big C Sports. We're all part of that $15 billion industry. I want the same kind of money they get. So I applied for it, for the funding. Because it's there. So the firsthand the challenges to advancement and look forward to continuing increases of women of color in the NFL as we open up doors for all of those following that same path. But a black person or a woman getting access to media should never have to work twice as hard as a white person who got there by fiat or through cronyism or nepotism. Shouldn't be the case. That's why I formed Big C Sports. Some people were with me. They've gone their own way. That's fine. But the funding for $15 billion is there. And Big C Sports is a part of that funding. But there's also a world where many people that I've worked with in the past, they had a glass ceiling for black men. And it still exists to this day. But Title VII, part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, signed by Lyndon Baines Johnson, we have access to the $15 billion in media. But you got to know how to apply for it. And so I want to just finish up today's show. I know everybody was so happy last night. Steph Curry, 4-3! And he hit the 3 shot, and everybody's clapping and cheering. Proud of that. But you know what I want to hear? Charlton Curry, part of the $15 billion plan for media in the NFL for life. It's important. The NFL kicked off its season with additions on and off the field. Robert Saleh with the New York Jets. David Culley, Houston Texans, became the first-time head coach of color when they hired prior to the season. And then Shad Khan, Jacksonville Jaguars, and Ken Pagula in Buffalo are owners of color who have been with the league since 2012 and 2014. Mike Tomlin is a senior man of color as a coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Never had a losing record unless it happens this year. White coaches have losing records all the time. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing record as an NFL coach. You would have thought that would have opened up more doors for black men. There's a lot of white guys with losing records. John Gruden has a losing record overall. They still gave him $100 million. It's about media, too. When a credential comes over from a person of color from a black-owned network and applying for funding and grants for a black-owned network like Big C Sports, Bob Johnson created BET and sold it for over $1 billion. Isn't that something? Over $1 billion. Black Entertainment Network. Tyler Perry, he's a black billionaire. Has his own Tyler Perry Studios out of Atlanta, Georgia. There's so many other people of color. And when I go to the media in the press box and oftentimes in the media rooms at the stadiums, I can count the number of black men and women on 3 fingers. Sometimes all I need is the middle finger, if that makes sense to you. But it's not because we don't want to be there. It's because a lot of times people want to hire us. And I want to make that push that more black Americans understand Title VII, part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. We have a right to the money. Not, hey, thank you, man. Hey, I appreciate you. Steph Curry for 3. It's wonderful to clap somebody, clap your hand for somebody and pat them on the back. Hey, man, can you sign my shirt? Can you sign my autograph? Take a picture with my kid? But there's a $15 billion package for NFL alone. NBA's package is not $15 billion. I know it's less than $10 billion, but it's climbing. Major League Baseball, that's less than NBA, but it's climbing too. So for black Americans trying to get in the media, understand Title VII, apply for your funding. There's grant money that I just learned about too by another black man that does work covering NFL sports. I sat down and had lunch. It was Marcus Spears and a couple other guys at an NBA game a couple years ago doing an NBA playoff preview. And people oftentimes don't share the knowledge, but it's there. You just can't be afraid to ask for it. So yes, I too want to build Big C Sports into $1 billion company. All it takes is funding. All it takes is funding. The NFL by the year 2030 will be according to projections, that's just 9 years from now, a $27 billion corporation. More black people should get a part of that pie. Not just white guys with cronyism and nepotism. Their friends hiring friends. And then trying to keep you out of the business and then trying to recruit your kids. And then draft your kids. Media is a lucrative business, but you got to be on the inside of it, and Big C Sports will do its part to do the best I can to open up the big side of the wallet too. It's all fair and level work. Talked about NFL football, NBA basketball, what's going on with COVID, making sure we also are part of the funding, the $15 billion that Big C Sports is also applying for my portion of that. Going to happen sooner than later. You just got to be a part of the media. You got to get your credentials, and I have that now. So I thank God for that. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known to Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you flow like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. With all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm pretty. I'm so light on my feet I can't possibly be beat. With all these Big C burgers, it makes me yummy in my tummy. Or something like that. All fair and level work. My beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that crap, pick up the phone and ask for help. Because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you. We appreciate you. We hope that you have a super fantastic day.